Hello and welcome to the recorded version of the Arn and Eddie experience. I'm Eddie Cyburns. Joining me, as always, is Arn Furious, and today we are talking about we're kind of doing a kind of a preview into the Premier League so far, and also talking about some transfers. We'll also show a tier chart where we think that people are going to be. Arn,
Sure,
but
you're
before we get
all familiar with the tier maker gimmick, so that is what we're using for this.
Yep, we'll be using the tier making gimmick. Before we go any further, Arn, how you doing? You keeping well?
Yes, yeah, really good. Missing the football a bit, so this weekend I'm off to Sweden to watch some of their summer league, and
Yep.
next week the Women's Euro starts, so I'm going to that as well. So basically, summer without football, nah, mate. I've got some summer football.
And I believe that will be you and Mister your groundhopper mate going to Sweden with you. Is that correct?
Yeah, Mike's going along. I would have invited you, Eddie, but I hear you haven't got much money.
Well, we'll see. We don't talk about that in the household and the family tree. Right. So, let's get going. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the teams in alphabetical order.
Okay, I'm
Arn is
going to
going.
pull the gimmick up.
Yep, there we go. So you see, we've got Champions, Champions League, Bubbling Under, Bottom Half, and Relegation. Every one of those lovely logos or team crests look fine, except for the Bournemouth one, which apparently is double double. But hey,
Yeah, it's a bit broken, the Bournemouth one, but you know which one it is. It's fine.
yeah, right. So let's get started. So if we're gonna do it A to Z, we have to talk about Arsenal. Let's talk. So second season. Second season under Mikel Arteta properly.
Yes.
An All or Nothing documentary coming out as well. August 4th, I think that was. So I'm very
I
excited to
still
see
think
that.
they missed the trick by not doing Everton last season. If they'd have done Everton last season, they'd have had an incredible time. It was just a ridiculous season for Everton. But anyway, getting back to Arsenal, it's
Yep.
It always feels like the Arsenal project is kind of a work in progress. And while they made steps in the right direction last season, it cost them quite a lot of money to get there. So, like, even though I thought they did okay and they did better than they have done for a while, there's still a sense that they kind of cocked it up because they didn't get into the Champions League and they kind of bottled it right at the end as well, which made it even worse.
Yeah, they had the run in at the end was, it was very difficult for them, and they were in fourth. They had pole position. And then Spurs kind of just went on a run and never looked back. And Arsenal had a poor performance against Newcastle where they lost 2-0, and
Yeah, well,
they were.
there's a very clear difference between those two teams. I think that Tottenham have been far more aggressive with their recruitment, especially when it comes to the manager. I think they've signed a born winner who will refuse any other path. Like, he's like laser focused on it. It's like, if you don't win as Conte, then you're a loser. And there's not a lot of people in football who have that kind of laser focus on winning. And he has it, and he drove Spurs into that top four. He's been driving recruitment over the summer. Where, on the other hand, you've got Arsenal. Arsenal are trying to go about it the right way. They're trying to bring in exciting young players and trying to develop them and win things that way. They're spending a lot of money on players who aren't proven, whereas Tottenham has spent a lot of money on players who are proven, which is why they finished fourth and Arsenal finished fifth. And I think you've got to mix it up a little bit, and it hasn't really panned out for them.
Yeah, if you look at the signings so far, so far Marquinhos from Sao Paulo, who's kind of unproven, obviously normal. I'm sure he's been playing in Sao Paulo quite a lot, but he 22 games for Sao Paulo, 41 overall in his career.
Yeah, he's 19, so I mean he's represented Brazil at youth level. I really don't know that much about him, but like he's a winger.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know there was an issue between Arsenal and Wolverhampton potentially because Wolves were apparently said something about agreement of a signing with him, but unproven. We don't know. We'll need to see. Fabio Vieira of Porto.
Yeah.
This one, again, I don't know a lot about him. I've not seen enough Portuguese football to kind of see into him, but they needed. And did they need another attacking midfielder? Probably.
Yeah, I think the concern for Arsenal fans is that there's a lot of reliance on Odegaard for creativity, and that in bringing in Vieira, they give them the chance if they play together. One of them could play out a little bit on the side and then rotate around, and maybe you get Smith Rowe as well, and it kind of gives you more of an opportunity to create as a group.
Yeah.
It might take a bit of pressure off Odegaard. It might free him up a little bit because there was a feeling with Odegaard that people knew exactly what he was going to do when he got the ball, and he could be quite dangerous. So they were marking him tight. You bring Vieira in; he's another player that can do that sort of thing. Playing them together, I don't know if it's going to work. It should do, but then you kind of have to limit your other attacking options around that because you do really need a solid defense behind it if you're going to play both of them.
Yeah. You've got Matt Turner as a goalie. So again, that's just backup Taron Ramsdale and also potentially leading to Bernd Leno probably heading out the door.
Yeah, it looks like he's going.
In terms of the outgoings, obviously the big one would be Lacazette going to Lyon. But that was kind of, I think once Aubameyang left, it was kind of not long before Lacazette would probably go out the door. And obviously, who do you bring in? Once Lacazette's gone, you go out and sign Gabriel Jesus from Man City. It's not official, obviously, but it's been very clear he's already at.
But he's at the Emirates walking around with the Arsenal shirt on with his name on the back, so I'm pretty sure he's signed. And it's a good signing. It's a good signing because I feel like he'll fit into that Arsenal way of playing. There's going to be a lot of pass and move, and he's good at that. He does get a lot of goal contributions, even if you kind of look at him in City and think he's not a natural centre forward. But then that's kind of what they're going for. Like, if you think of Arsenal as Mikel Arteta's version of Guardiola's Man City, that's what they've gone for. So it doesn't really surprise me that he's gone all out for a player that would fit into like that system and would know it already. It makes sense.
Yeah. And as I said, when your only striking option is Eddie Nketiah, who you give a 5-year deal to, you kind of need someone. And obviously he's not completely proven in the Premier League. Gabriel Jesus, he has scored goals, but he's not like a consistent on and off, on goal scorer. So I mean, this might be his chance to kind of break out and do quite well. In terms of the tier, Arne, where do you think Arsenal will be in the tier maker?
I don't think they'll make it into the Champions League. Because when it comes to the Champions League, I think Man City and Liverpool have got 2 places sewn up. Spurs were in there last year and they've only got better.
Okay. And
then there's Chelsea, who we keep saying Chelsea only needed a striker. They got Lukaku and it didn't work. Chelsea are going to spend a lot of money in this transfer window. There's like 200 million just sat there waiting to be spent.
Yeah.
I can't see Arsenal getting past any of those 4 teams. And it depends what Man United do, but like Eric Ten Hag's there. There felt like there was hope for Man United fans before last season. It didn't really pan out. I think Arsenal fans will be looking at that and thinking, we're probably going to finish 6th. So
they're again enjoying either Thursday nights because they'll be back to Europa nights then. Is that what you're saying?
I would have thought so. I mean, 5th was considered a bit of a minor failure for them, but they'll stay in that group. I can't see it dropping any lower. They might get lucky and get better. They might get into a position where all these players start clicking. whereas like at Chelsea and to more of an extent at Man United, the big players tend not to click quite so well together as a team. They're more like a bunch of talented individuals. So Arsenal, I think, will be in there somewhere. They might get a little bit higher, but I can't see them getting into top four.
I think them missing out on Rafinha, which we'll talk about in a minute, is a bit of a bugger. Hopefully they'll bring someone else in, but again, still plenty of time yet. Okay, Aston Villa under Steven Gerrard. Their signings have been quite good. Boubacar Kamara from Marseille. The two Brazilians in terms of Diego Carlos, and it was already announced, I think, before anything had officially gone through, Philip Coutinho, and then obviously just Robin Olsen, the goalie. The only people who have left is Hourihane and Target of any kind of, and Ashley Young, obviously, but
Matt Target wasn't really there last year anyway because he was on loan at Newcastle. Signing Coutinho permanently is a big one for them. I think last summer we were all raving about Villa and saying that they got a real shot at like cracking them European places, and they ended up sacking the manager. None of the players they brought in seemed to work, and they spent a lot of money on really good players. It just didn't seem to work. Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know what it is about them.
I'd say Coutinho is going to give them a bit of a spark. If they keep a hold of them, I don't think they're expected to lose anyone. I mean, I've heard rumblings, and we've all heard rumblings of John McGinn potentially going somewhere, but I mean, I'd probably say they're probably in the mid-table. I don't see them. Again, Gerrard might get a good performance out of them, but again, he's, I'd say bubbling under. I'd probably say maybe top 10. I now think that it's going to be Gerrard's. Yeah,
it's close, isn't it? I think it's probably bubbling under, but then there's a chance if they don't have a particularly good season, they'll be in the bottom half there.
It wouldn't be a surprise if they went into the bottom half because they're very.
I think that people were talking about Steven Gerrard when he went there that he'd done a fantastic job, but if you look at the record for the second half of the season when he was in charge, it wasn't very good. It was all right.
No, I think he had a good time at Rangers, but at the end you could see it was kind of tailing off, and it was kind of going a little bit, topsy-turvy. So he got out while the getting was good. He'd already done what he said he was, which was going to win them a championship. And he's obviously rumoured to be bringing certain players like Calvin Bassey. If Calvin Bassey signs for Aston Villa, I think that'd be a great signing. He was man of the match for Rangers during the Europa League final.
Yeah, he played really well. Did play well.
So if that happens, great. But again, it just depends. Again, they need to hit the ground running, and it's going to be difficult. But we'll see what happens. I think, as I said, they'll either be mid-table or they'll be bubbling under, or they'll just be at the bottom. So it'll just be like 11, 12.
I think they'll be mid-table, possibly lower. I can't see them cracking Europe, to be honest.
Yeah, right. The quiet one, this team has been quite quiet during everything so far. Scott Parker's Bournemouth.
There you go. Bournemouth, rock bottom. They've got no chance. There's a 0% chance of them staying in the Premier League. 0%.
I mean, I'm surprised you don't have some hope in Dominic Solanke scoring a ton of goals.
I watched Bournemouth play last season. They were crap. I can't believe they got promoted. The Championship's a funny division because there's a lot of really decent teams in there, and they all kind of battle with each other. But if there's a good team, like an actually good team in the Championship, they absolutely destroy it with ease. And you look at what Steve Cooper did at Nottingham Forest. He turned a team that was crap, that was going down, into the third best team in the division just because he was there. So the difference between a good manager and just anyone else could transform that team into a promoted side. Bournemouth have got no chance at all. Eddie Howe did a miracle getting them up and keeping them up before, they've got no chance.
Okay, so immediately we're putting them in the relegation. I think Ryan. I'd be interested to see how Ryan Christie does at this level. I'd also be interested to see. They've not signed anyone yet. I mean, they've not signed anyone of major importance. They've signed Ryan Fredericks and Joe Rothwell. So it's. I don't know whether they're being quiet, but we'll see how their transfer go. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I think it's probably smart to not spend money. Because even if they spend money, I don't think they can spend the kind of money that they need to stay in the division. So spending very little, they quids in at the end of the day because they'll still get all that Premier League money and they'll still get all the parachute payments. So they'll still get that cash, whether they spend like 40 million on players that they can't afford or spend zero and they'll get relegated either way.
So we move on to... they finished last season 13th. We move on to Brentford.
Yeah.
What do you think?
There's always that second season where a promoted team that's done all right, even Leeds, they had a really good first season. They got found out second year. It happens time and time again that when someone figures you out, you get into trouble the second season. Also, I think Brentford's success hinged a lot on the fact that they brought in Christian Eriksen and he turned what had been a decent team into like a really good team because he was the focal point of their attacking creativity. If he stays, I think they'll do okay. I think they'll be like comfy mid-table. If he goes, I think they're going to be down the bottom somewhere.
Yeah, they've still got some. I think the players they've got work well. They had likes of Christopher Ayer, Pontus Jansson, Rico Henry's done incredibly well that season. They've had quite, it is a shock value for them, but
it's a good squad. I'm not going to say it isn't a good squad, and Thomas Frank's a really good manager, but it's going to be tough second season. I don't think they will go down. But like I say, if they can keep Christian Eriksen, I think they'll do quite well just because he's just good.
Yeah. So if we put them in the tier, I'd say you'd probably say bubbling under or bottom half even.
I'd say bottom half, but they could potentially end up there if they're not careful. I think they're probably better than at least 3 other teams in this division, but it's close.
Okay.
It's close because you start looking through the other teams that are down there and you think, well, who's actually worse than Brentford down there?
Yeah.
You start looking at it.
Okay, Brighton. The only major thing of date, Yves Bissouma has left.
Yeah.
He's went to Tottenham. As of recently, he was cleared of any allegation.
I hadn't even heard about that until you told me.
Yeah, they've signed a Paraguayan centre forward named Julio Enciso for 9.5 million. He's 18.
I know well.
I was going to say, is this one of your Football Manager?
No, I've literally never heard of him. So, he's actually played 6 times for the national team.
At 18?
At 18, yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's a sign of how weak Paraguayan's national pool is, but yeah, that's a lot of appearances for an 18-year-old.
Still got a good squad. Robert Sanchez in goal. Yeah. Cucurella's still there at the moment.
I think Cucurella is one that might go. Was it Man City? I'm sure it was Man City was sniffing around Cucurella, wanted him as the left back, but it doesn't seem to have happened. But yeah, they've got some good players.
This team is quite. This team, the Brighton team they have, is just. It's all Premier League quality. I don't think there's anyone in there that's not Premier League quality. You've got the back line of Adam Webster, Lewis Dunk. You've got Tariq Lamptey, Sanchez, Cucurella, Mopé, Arsenal's favourite.
Lamptey was a bit of a sensation for him coming from Chelsea's reserves. So they seem to know where to shop for players. It's just a case of whether they can find pieces to replace the ones that they're going to inevitably lose, because it's the same as Southampton like 10 years ago when Southampton seemed to have a great scouting network and they were picking up these talented youth players.
Yeah.
Youth players, talented young players, developing them and then selling them on for a profit, and it's kept them in the Premier League for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Whereas like Brighton seem to be at the start of that phase where they've been able to identify people like Robert Sanchez, Tarek Lamptey, Trossard, the dude that's just left, Bissouma. They've I had a bit of a moment there. It's just like we were literally just talking about him. So they seem to be doing well at that, but they'll need to continue finding these little gems. And when Premier League players are coming in for Premier League teams are coming in for other people's players now, they find that there's a tax on going to the Premier League. It's all of a sudden like this. And Ciso, the player that they've signed, the Paraguayan forward, they paid $9.5 million for him, which, I mean, it sounds pretty decent for a youngster, but then you think, well, I haven't actually heard of him.
Yeah. I mean, playing 5 times for your national side, you get in the you get your Football Manager game head on, and you think, okay, this is one for the future. This is a hot prospect contract where you've had to add in stuff in, but it might not be that long before he, gets put in. He's got Mopé to learn under, which is great. It's a great.
So turn into a complete shit house then. He's learning under Neal Mopé.
He's becoming the next Arsenal hate target. So we'll see how that goes. Brighton, where do you think they will be? Because Graham Potter does a good job. He's done a good job.
Yeah, no, he has. Every time there's a managerial vacancy, Graham Potter's name seems to come up, and he says he's happy with Brighton. I think of all of the people and all the pieces that they've got at Brighton, the most important is to probably keep Potter in there.
Yeah.
And let him carry on doing what he's doing. Where do I think they're going to come? It's very tough. I'm probably going to put them in bottom half, but they're definitely above Brentford. And I don't think I can actually... There we go. Move them around.
There we go.
So I would say sort of just in the bottom half. They'll be like mid-table-ish.
Okay.
I think. I don't think they're good enough to get into the top
I can see that. I
probably should have added another one that had like Europa League in, so we could have put those in the thing. But I'll try and put them in order as they go in.
Yeah. So let's then look at the club where everything is changing currently behind the scenes and changed over the summer. Chelsea. So Petr Cech's gone. Marina Granovska has left.
Yeah.
There's been a clear they've Romelu Lukaku finally got his wish, and is now back in playing for Inter Milan.
That's a weird one for me. Like, I said when he was rumored to be going to Chelsea last summer that he won't do it because he loved it at Inter Milan. He absolutely adored playing for Inter Milan. He was home. That's where he belonged. And to just up sticks and go back to Chelsea, a club that he hated playing for the first time because they wouldn't give him any games.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense to me. And this move makes all the sense in the world, except it's cost Chelsea a small fortune to basically buy a player for one season and then loan him back for the loan fee is like 8 million.
Yeah, it's the fact also that during the time
for a decade with the money that they were given by Chelsea.
It's the fact that like they've had this boy, he went on record during the season and was clear that he wasn't happy and he would like to go back, and obviously Inter only sold him due to their financial situation. So
which is obviously since then the financial situation has dramatically improved for Inter. So
yeah. The rumoured signings, obviously Lukaku out. Rumoured signings have been Raheem Sterling.
Todd Boehly, is it?
Boehly.
He spent a lot of money on the club, and he wants some marquee signings. And from what I can understand, he's kind of put himself in charge of recruitment. So his idea of marquee signings is people like Raheem Sterling. He threw Neymar's name into the mix. Apparently, he was like, "Oh, let's get Neymar in because he's not happy at PSG." Bringing in Neymar and sticking him in this is just it's a worse idea than Lukaku would have been. I think where Chelsea need to work on is the unity of the team.
Yeah.
And it was kind of showing signs of getting there over the course of the season. I don't know why it was so bad at the start. I don't know if it's just Lukaku coming in has disrupted what they wanted to do as a unit before he came in. I know Tuchel's a big fan of Lukaku, but like obviously it didn't work. The players that they're left with, they're kind of the same core of players that were there before.
Yeah.
So if they can bring in players that fit into that core, I think they'll be fine.
I think Timo Werner might need to finally kickstart off. I think he needs to fit. It's now or never, I think.
Chelsea fans like Timo Werner. They do.
I think, but in terms of the goals he scored, in terms of how prolific he's been, not been that great in terms of the league. Yeah, don't get me wrong. He's great.
That's where you can get away with it. Like you can get away with being a less than stellar professional footballer if you try hard. And I think when you're a fan, you want to at least see the effort. And that's what you get with Werner. He runs around all game, like he tries really hard. And he's kind of got the respect of the fans because of that. And they're baying for him to come on as a sub when I saw them live. And they got Lukaku sat on the bench next to him, but it was Werner that the fans were chanting for. They wanted him to come on.
I mean, they've got Ross Barkley back from loan. They've snuck away Rafinha from Arsenal, but that might purely be because Rafinha's agent is former Chelsea player and Portuguese internationalist Deco.
That's a legend.
They've Anthony Rudiger has finally left. He's gone to Madrid. Danny Drinkwater is finally off the books.
I don't think that Rudiger move would have happened if it wasn't for Chelsea not being able to do anything. I think if they'd have been able to offer him a contract, they would have done. And he's basically said, I've only left because it was Real Madrid. Real Madrid came and knocking, and he was like, well, I kind of have to. It's Real Madrid.
Yeah. Andreas Christensen has left. Charlie Musonda has left.
Yeah, I think Chelsea's got tons of players, though.
It's a list. We'll quickly go to the tier. Where do you think they're going to finish?
I think they will finish in the top four because they finished top four this season and they had the whole Lukaku distraction and they didn't do particularly well overall. But I think they'll finish top four.
Top four. Okay.
I can't see them winning the league. I don't think they'll be particularly close. This is a rebuild season for Chelsea to recover from the mistakes they made last year, to recover from the whole Roman Abramovich thing. But I think they're still good enough to finish top four, and I think Tuchel's a really good manager.
Yeah. Crystal Palace. So last season finished 12th with Patrick Vieira. He has signed no one just yet. A lot of players have left. I think this is just a wait and see, I guess, with Crystal Palace and see if they do anything.
Yeah, Palace were looking at Decore, not Everton Decore, the other one. Is this the
one from Lens?
Yeah, so they were looking at bringing him in. It seems to be pretty close to a done deal, from what I understand. It was a decent squad last season, though.
Yeah, they got to the final of the. Did they get to a final? No, they got to a semi-final of the
cup. Yeah, they've got a decent squad. They've got players. They've got a lot of very good young players, but also a lot of young creative players like Michael Elise, like Eze, that can change games. And there's big clubs that are going to keep an eye on players like that because they know having the ability to change a game is key at the very highest level. But they've also got Odsonne Edouard went there last season. He's now settled in.
Yeah.
I think he's got goals written all over him if he can really get focused on his gameplay.
Eberechi, Michael Elise, they do have some good players.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky for them, but they are looking at improvements, and I think Vieira had a really good season. I think tactically he seemed to nail it down, and they felt like they were like a comfy mid-table team last season. Whereas like pre-season, we were all saying, "Oh, they're going to struggle."
He picked. I mean, to be fair, I put them down to relegation, but
Yeah,
that was just.
when he was playing.
It wasn't close at all. I think the results he picked up against Man United and stuff like that were incredible in terms of the games that he did win. Some of them were just incredibly on form. I think they'll still be probably middle bottom. I don't think they'll be relegated, but
yeah, they'll be around here somewhere in the sort. I'm sure they'll love this. They're right next to Brighton. I think that's a rivalry still for positional sense as well as the local thing that they've got going on there.
And let's move on to who else but Everton FC. No more John Joe Kenny.
Well, there's two pieces of good news. They got out of last season, and they have a different sort of vibe around the club as compared to the same time last year, where the fans hated each other, they hated the players, they hated the board. It was miserable for half a season. A relegation battle is the best thing that could have happened to that Everton team because they found out who they were.
Yeah.
And Lampard, I think, has done a really decent job after coming in there. Like he's put his heart on his sleeve and he's gone flying into it with all of his heart. He's really given it a good old school try. It's not going to be easy. Yeah. Not going to be easy for Everton. Everyone around them is going to improve this summer, and they can't because there's no money. And they're going to lose Richarlison, who obviously was one of their best players last year. So again, it's going to be a struggle.
Yep. So no more John Joe Kenny at right back. No more Fabian Delph.
How terrible.
No more man who shall not be named from Iceland. No more Cenk Tosun. And obviously, no more Richarlison.
I mean, apart from Richarlison, before you said Richarlison, I was going to say there's not a player on that list that is a big loss.
It's going to be
most of them were on big money. So like Delph, Tosun, and Sigurdsson, they're all on big money and they're all gone. So that kind of helps them towards their financial fair play. Selling Richarlison was all about financial fair play. He loves Everton. He never would have left if it wasn't for their financial problems. So that's where they're at. They have been connected to players. Whether any of that is going to happen, I don't know. I mean, like Maxwell Cornet from Burnley, he had a relegation release clause that has been triggered by Burnley going down. Apparently, it's around 17 million. So Everton were looking at him. Is that really the player they need? Obviously, they've got James Tarkowski. It looks like he's coming in.
And that'll be a free one at the Tarkowski one.
Tarkowski's out of contract, so that'd be a free. I think centre back was a problem position for Everton last season, so that's a boost for him. Didn't see anything of Nathan Patterson last season, so we don't really know if he's going to play or not. But Mykolenko was great in the last 2 months of the season, so the left back problem sorted. Right back, we'll see. And centre back, if Tarkowski's gone in there, that's a better defence than it was this season. So that's an improvement. Elsewhere, replacing Richarlison is obviously going to be the big problem because they just don't grow on trees, players of visibility. And the other one is if DCL goes, because it's not really been mentioned on the back pages this summer. I felt for sure he was going to go to Arsenal. People were saying it was agreed last January, and we're going to wait until July for it to go through, but it just hasn't been mentioned at all. So
do you maybe think there's been a change and kind of delay with everything, obviously with who Arsenal have decided to change their maybe targets to in the window potentially? I mean Everton, as far as we're concerned, it's going to be interesting to see.
I think it was just because his form was so bad. Because DCL's form in the second half of last season was dreadful. And a lot of that was to do with the injuries that he suffered earlier in the season. But then, he just didn't play very well.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, where do you put Everton in the?
Well, they're in the bottom half. I don't think they'll have the season that they had last year. Like, I don't think they're going to get dragged into a dogfight, because if you look at some of the teams that are on here, I think Everton will do better than them. But I'm doing better on last season is being relatively comfortable. I don't think they're going to get involved in any kind of fight further up the division. The chances of them getting involved in the European placings relatively slim. But as long as they keep the attitude that they had towards the end of last season, they'll be okay. But again, Richarlison is a huge problem. Like, having to replace a player of that importance. They'll need to rely a lot on Anthony Gordon, who played really well last season. But he was absolutely dead on his feet at the end of the season. He completely burned out. So you need to be bringing some youngsters through to compete for places, because there's not a lot of money to spend.
Middling bottom, then, we would say, or
middling. I'd be happy if they finished 12th.
That's fair. It's going to be, as I said, they've had a difficult season. It's going from one difficult season to another. We move on to another promoted candidate. Let's talk about Shahid Khan and Marco Silva's Fulham FC. They've not signed anyone yet. Carvalho has left to go on loan. Carvalho has left properly to go to Liverpool.
They didn't actually divulge what the transfer fee was, so I don't know if Liverpool have played through the nose for him. I suspect not.
From what I can see here, 5 million with a 2.7 add-on.
See, that's dirt cheap, because I think he's a really good prospect.
So far, they have said goodbye to Michael Hector, Cyrus Christie, Alfie Mawson, John Michael Seri, Andre Frank Zambo Anguissa have all left the club. No one has come in yet. There have been rumours, obviously, about Bernd Leno coming in and being the keeper. If that is the case, that is a great signing to start off with.
Well, they will need a goalkeeper.
They don't have a lot of players.
No. They will definitely need a better goalkeeper. No offense to Marek Rodak, but if they have a really good goalkeeper, it will increase their chances of not being relegated.
They've got Gazaniga, but a lot
of their players are very good championship players, but Norwich had a squad full of very good championship players last year. And the last time they got relegated, and last time Fulham got relegated, they had a squad full of very good championship players. Alexander Mitrovic is like the greatest championship player in the world, but can you cut it in the Premier League?
If you look at Alexander Mitrovic's stats,
it's ridiculous.
And you go, okay, so his first season in the Premier League with Newcastle, 34 appearances, 36 appearances total, 9 goals. Then he went to Championship, 25 appearances, 4 goals. Premier League, 6. Before he went off on loan to Fulham, 7 appearances, 2 goals. And then he went to Fulham, and then everything changes because he goes 17 appearances, 12 goals in the Championship, 37 appearances in the Premier League, 11 goals. 40 appearances in the Championship, 26 goals. 27 appearances in the Premier League, 3 goals. And then the Championship this year, 44 appearances, 43 goals.
It's getting more pronounced, isn't it? So next season, Premier League, 37 games, 1 goal. And then the year after, Championship, 45 games, 106 goals.
We're getting 37 games out of Mitrovic, and we're getting 5 goals this season. If we're lucky, 6 if we're lucky. I think Fulham need to get in on the signings quickly. I think Tony and his team need to kind of step away from their other things at the moment and work on getting that squad built up and ready. Otherwise, it will be the big red relegation.
I'm going to put them with Bournemouth though, because at least they've got a bit more about them than Bournemouth. But
Yeah.
unless they do a lot between now and the start of the season, I don't think they've got a chance in hell.
Yeah. We move on now from Fulham to, if we have a look, we move on to Leeds United. So Leeds United have dirty Leeds. So Jesse Marsh's first season as, the soccer manager. Signed Brendan Aronson, Rasmus Christensen from Salzburg, and then Mark Roca from Bayern Munich. There's only one player who's definitely away. Yeah, there's one player from them who's definitely away, and that will be Rafinha. Do they need to do more?
Well, Rafinha was their best player, so losing him is a sizable blow. Although I think the way that Jesse Marsh conducted his business last season, it felt very much like he wanted a kind of a team effort. Didn't really like the idea of there being star players in there. I don't know. We shall see. I think at the start of last season, they took a good team and then they spent a load of money to try and make it better, and it didn't work. So maybe they go back to being the good team. The problem with that is they had a lot of injuries last year. It shows their lack of squad depth. And if they're going to lose Rafinha, and it looks like Calvin Phillips as well, then you're losing the players that were holding everything together. I think it's going to be a long season for Leeds.
It's going to be tricky, very much. It's going to be a tricky situation. Victor Orta's got a lot of work to do. In terms of helping and recruiting with that squad. I said if Calvin leaves and obviously Rafinha looks like he's going to be leaving, it does leave them with very little. They've still got
Brendan Aronson. He has been capped 18 times with the United States. Scores a lot of goals from midfield. I think he potentially could be a bit of an eye-opening player in terms of he's the kind of dude that is going to come in, people don't know who he is, and he's going to do things, and then he will be very famous by the end of the season. But I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle for Leeds. I think.
Where do you see them?
I don't think they're going to go down. So I should probably put the thing on the screen. Yeah, I don't think they're going to go down, but I would say somewhere around there.
Okay.
I don't think they'll finish above Brighton or Palace, for example.
Okay.
So maybe here, I don't know. Maybe like that.
Okay. I could see that. I think they seem like they're able to spend and they want to spend a bit more, and obviously if getting rid of Rafinha helps with more money, and then maybe they'll bring in some more players.
Like Everton, they'll want to avoid the horrible sensation that they had from being in a relegation dogfight for half the season. They'll want to avoid that. Whether they can or not, I don't know. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for them.
Right, let's quicken this up just a little bit.
Yeah, this is going a lot longer than I thought it would.
Yeah, don't worry, we'll quicken this bit because it's very simple. Leicester City, Youri Tielemans seems to be on his way out. We don't know where. The rumours all point towards Arsenal. They've not signed anyone.
No.
Do they need to sign anyone?
Leicester are in big trouble. They're in free fall. The players they've brought in recently haven't really worked. A lot of the players who they've been relying on for years, like James Maddison and Jamie Vardy, it looked knackered. Vardy in particular, he's maybe got a dozen games at the top level left in him. I think that's probably about it. The players they brought in to replace him, like say Patson Daka, were decent last season, but there's a clear drop off for Leicester. They're going to struggle.
Yeah.
Pre-season last year, I was really high on Leicester. I said that the club was doing the right things. It was well managed, and it was, and it still is. But the shine has completely gone off it. Brendan Rodgers, I think, writing's on the wall. I think he's going to be done before Christmas, and I think they will be in a relegation fight. But I don't think they'll get there.
Yeah. So we got them. So where do we think they're going to go? Do we think they're going to be? Yeah.
They could even finish fourth from bottom. It could be that bad of a year for Leicester.
Okay. I mean, Passendak, I'm very interested to see how he does the second turn. Tielemans is obviously seeming on his way out. Dewsbury Hall might do well this season again.
There's problems there, though. There's big problems.
Yeah, there is. We agree. Right. Liverpool. So the main two things that happen with Liverpool is Darwin Núñez is in.
Yeah.
Sadio Mane is out.
Yes.
Loris Karius has finally left. Origi's on his way to Milan. Minamino is out.
Well, Minamino didn't really play anyway, did he? And Origi only played when they were playing Everton, so he could score against us.
Minamino was midfield, was a kind of a super sub in essence.
Yeah, the only player that they're really going to miss out of them is Sadio Mane. I can finally say I really like Sadio Mane. I've been saying that I hate him for years because he was at Liverpool, but I really like Sadio Mane. I think they're going to miss him. He was pretty selfish. He in a good way, like the way that Salah is selfish in a good way, and I felt that they were kind of butting each other in the head quite a bit because of that. Salah, I think, will be gone next year as well because they won't pay him what he wants or what his agent wants. So you're probably going to be looking at a whole new lineup for Liverpool up front. And when that was going to happen, I thought it was going to be the end for this Liverpool team. I thought I was actually quite happy about it. I was like, finally going to get rid of them off the top tier here. But the recruitment has been good. And I've forgotten his name, the winger they signed in January.
Luis Diaz.
Diaz, that's him, Diaz. So Diaz has hit the ground running. If Núñez hits the ground running as well, which he probably will do, he's a very good player, then you've got yourself a brand new front three. So I don't think it's going to impact them that negatively.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. I think they're going to definitely be... They'll be challenging again for the championship, of course, but it's just a case of, I'd say Champions League. I'm not sure about champions for me.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think they'll probably finish second or third. I think they'll finish above Chelsea.
Potentially. We focus now we go from Liverpool to Manchester. They have so far, Fernandinho is gone. Jayden Braff has left to go be part of Borussia Dortmund. Gavin Bazunu has left to go be...
not Gavin Bazunu.
Yeah, Irish goalkeeper Gavin Bazunu. Pedro Porro, who I cannot remember playing for them, but I'm going to say okay, has left. And obviously, for a grand total of 51 million, they have finally brought Alfing Haaland's boy to the Premier League. Erling Haaland is here. What do we think?
51 million is an absolute snip for Haaland. There's two questions that people want answered this season from Haaland. One is, can he stay fit? And I think that's bigger than two. Will he actually be able to fit into City's system? I think he'll have no problems fitting in there. The amount of times that City get into positions and the ball's just rolling across the 6-yard box. He's going to love it. He's going to score 50 goals next season if he stays fit. And I think that is the biggest question mark about Haaland is he seemed to have a lot of injuries last season. And English football, with all respect to the Bundesliga, which is a pretty fast-paced league, it's a more physical league, it's a more tiring league, and there's more fixtures. So they only play 34 plus less cup games in the Bundesliga. There's a lot more football played in England. It's going to be tiring for him. However, unlike at Dortmund, there won't be a massive reliance on him for goals because there's players all around him that will do that as well. So I think he's going to work just fine. I think he's going to have a really good season. And to be honest, Man City were the best team in the league last year, and they've improved their squad.
Yeah. I think, if you look at the performance, 89 appearances for Dortmund in all competitions, 86 goals for Erling Haaland. I think he's going to be fine.
I think his strike rates at Man City might be even better because he's the kind of player where he'll be sniffing around and these chances will come in great numbers at Man City. I think he's going to score a lot.
I think we both have. I think I'm going to just say it. I think they'll win the league again.
That's absolutely what I had. I think they're a clear cut above everybody else. Liverpool have gone through a little bit of a transition. I think Man City basically have the same really, really strong squad, and they've replaced Aguero like a year late, and it's not going to make the blindest bit of difference because last season they didn't even have him and they won the league.
No.
So, yeah.
Right. Let's go to the red part of Manchester. Edinson Cavani gone, Paul Pogba gone, Juan Mata gone, Nemanja Matic gone.
Yeah, they've cleared out a lot of dead wood.
Yep, a complete clear out. New manager in Erik ten Hag kind of was everyone's kind of expected new manager for Man United when the job was up for grabs. He's rumors to be signing De Jong. Anthony's on the list. There's players on that list.
There's a lot of players on the list. A lot of players have been linked to Man United this summer. I think if they can get De Jong, that would be an absolutely sensational signing because they'd basically have a player with Paul Pogba's creativity and attacking intent, but who actually can play in central midfield. Whereas Pogba was more of a player who liked to play off the front and like to be more up the pitch, whereas De Jong can play in front of the back four or in the centre of midfield and still have that same creative threat. But he has more positional discipline as well. So if they can get him, that's a big, big, big signing. He's one of the best pure midfield players in world football, and he could be a game changer for United. But that's if he wants to go.
Yes.
Because he said he doesn't particularly want to. He wants to work with Ten Hag, but he doesn't necessarily want to go to Man United. He's happy at Barcelona, and Barcelona probably don't need to sell him this year.
But I think they want to because they want to try and obviously.
I think they want to
player in. So whether it'll happen,
a lot of money for him. But I don't think that's going to happen. I did also say last summer I didn't think Lukaku would happen, but that was a stupid transfer. This is a smart transfer.
Donny van de Beek potentially going to be getting some more game time under his former boss, so he can hopefully rejuvenate from his time at Everton. It's a wait and see again with Man United, but it looks so far, it's been a tumultuous kind of transfer window for them so far.
It's going to be really hard. Like when I was thinking about this list and that we were going to do it, I think the hardest team to predict where they're going to finish is Man United.
Yeah,
because if they end up having a really good transfer window in the next 4 weeks, they bring in like Yuri and Timber, Frankie de Jong, Anthony. Who else they link with? There
was Lisandro Martinez and...
So it's Lisandro Martinez, if they get him as well. Then you're looking
the Feyenoord defender, Tyrell Malacia. They're looking at a lot of players.
So if they can bring in that whole squad refreshing group of players to kind of wash away the dirty memories of what it was like last year, I think it could completely rejuvenate the club. But they'll need to make a big change, and the fact they've cleared out a load of players to make room on the wage budget kind of suggests that that's what they want to do. They don't want to have players like Cavani and Mata hang around and just help the youngsters on. They want to clear those guys out and just we'll start again. So I think they could go further, but the problem is getting rid of the players that they've got. They've gotten rid of all the players they could get rid of. Like the fact that they didn't even bother offering Pogba a contract. They're just like, nah, we've had enough of you, out.
Yeah.
And Jesse Lingard as well. They're just like, these guys are not cutting it at Man United. They're going to have to go. So that mentality, I think, will continue for the next 3 or 4 seasons. It's whether they can get good enough in the meantime to survive that long to clear people out who just aren't good enough.
Dean Henderson going out on loan is again a bit of a surprise. I mean, I would have thought. I mean, again, it's difficult. It's difficult to try and I think it's kind of clear he's knowing he's going. His time at the club is done, which is a shame. But
he wanted to play football, and he couldn't oust De Gea last season, so
Mm.
he's gone out on loan with a view to a permanent move, and I think he's moved to a club that really need him. Whereas,
Yeah,
do Man United need him? Well, I think they probably do, but that's besides the point.
yeah. So we move on to Newcastle, everyone's favourite club.
Put Man United on here somewhere.
Yes.
I would have said like here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they'll get in the Champions League. They might.
No, I think the Europa. I think for the season they'll be Europa.
I think they'll finish fifth,
Yeah.
just ahead of Arsenal.
So
Which
we
I
move
think is
on.
far worse for Arsenal than it is for Man United, because Man United is shit at the moment. And like
Man United, I think Man United know this season is going to be a rebuild, and a beginning of a rebuild. It's not, it's not going to be done overnight. It will take at least 2 or 3 seasons, but they need to give Ten Hag the chance. They need to stop pressuring these managers and immediately expecting success. With Ten Hag, he probably came down and went and said, "Listen, I need a little bit of time here." So I think definitely agree with you. Newcastle, shrewd business so far. Nick Pope, Sven Botman. I think they've signed. Did they sign anyone else? Target obviously has came back.
Yeah,
they've not signed anyone. They've not signed anyone majorly, but they already had the bit parts in there with Bruno. Miguel Almiron was kind of starting to get on, as was Joe Linton.
I think that they have money to spend, but the fact that when Eddie Howe went in there, he made the most of what was already there has kind of convinced the board that, we probably don't need to spend that much, but there's a few key components where we need to bring players in.
Mm-hmm.
I think centre half was a big problem, so Sven Botman hopefully can fix that for them. Target at left back had a good loan spell there, so they've signed him. That was a problem position for them. The creativity kind of going forwards was an issue, but then they've got Bruno Guimaraes, who's come in January. I thought he was sensational in bits and pieces. If he can consistently play well, they should be comfortable top half.
Yeah, I think
comfortable.
Almiron and Joe Linton even being able to kind of up their game. Eddie Howe has they've not went too far with the signings.
Yeah, I mean Almiron always tried really hard, but he just couldn't seem to get anything going with the players that were around him. Mm-hmm. That seems to have changed. Yeah. Obviously, Sam Maximin's a really good player, always has been. Dragged Newcastle single-handedly to wins in some games in the past. Trippier, of course, came in as well in January because he got injured. I kind of forget that he was there. I think it's a good squad, and it's maybe 1 or 2 years away from pushing for Champions League.
Joe Willock didn't really do that well, but again,
no, he didn't. But then I think there was a lot more. He had a lot more influence the season before when he was surrounded by bad players than this season when he's been surrounded by better players. It kind of it's marginalised him a bit.
Yep, and they've released their third kit, which is definitely nothing like the Saudi Arabia flag whatsoever. But yeah, remember, they're not owned by the Saudi family. Whatever anyone tells you, they're not owned by the Saudi family. Right.
They are rich as hell though. So if it starts going wrong during the season, they can just play some more money in. I think they've got a better chance of any of these other sides of cracking the top 6.
Yeah.
So we've got a top 6 lined up. I think they'll be in and about just underneath. I don't think they'll finish above Man U or Arsenal, but Man U and Arsenal will be looking over their shoulders because they're coming for these spots.
Sven Botman's a good signing. I think they've bolstered the defence. I think they'll be quite well. Even though I don't like them. Nottingham Forest.
I don't know what it is, but it is what it is. So I think they'll be fine. Eddie Howe, I think, was probably the best signing they've made because they've brought somebody in, Eddie the Ship, who's made the most of what was already there. He's made Joel Linton look like a really good footballer, whereas beforehand it was if you'd have said that about Joel Linton this time last year, I'd have been, you what, mate?
Yeah,
but he is. He looks good.
Right, we move on to Nottingham Forest.
Yep.
going to be a difficult season for Nottingham Forest, I feel.
Yeah, it will be.
Um,
the one thing I think that they've got going for them, which is above other promoted teams who've done so with sort of similar flair, is that the likes of Norwich, say, or Fulham the last time, they wanted to play like exciting football.
Yeah.
Forest do have expansive ideals, but they're realistic.
Yeah.
So of the three promoted teams, they're the one that I think has the best chance of staying in the division. Plus, they have the history attached to the name. I think they might be able to get more interesting signings through the door based on that. But I think Steve Cooper's like a pragmatic manager, and I think he'll get the best out of what he's got, whatever it is. They played well against Premier League teams in the Cup. That's all I'm going to say. They played well against Premier League teams before. I think they'll be fine, to be honest.
He's a good manager, Steve Cooper. I mean, you wanted it to work. You wanted it to work when he was at Swansea, and then they didn't make that. They lost in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think he's learned that. I think he learned from the experience, and I think he's done a fantastic job at Forest, and I think they'll stay up.
Yeah, I think there's difficulties because obviously they've a lot of players like the Jed Spence and stuff like that aren't coming back. But at the moment, as far as things are standing, James Garner's gone back to Manchester United. They've not signed anyone yet, so it's still their goalkeeper Bryce Samba wants to leave.
They did sign Taiwo and Awaniyi. I knew I'd got that up.
Awaniyi.
I would get the yi at the end. Awaniyi from Union Berlin. He was 17 million. I know of him from Football Manager mostly, because he's quite good on Football Manager. But last year he got 20 goals in 43 games in the Bundesliga and other competitions. So I feel like he did pretty well. I think it's a decent signing. You need a goal scorer, Premier League. The fact that he's coming from outside perhaps counts against it a little bit.
Where do you see them though?
I see them. I think they'll be well in the bottom half somewhere, but it's where exactly they are. It could all go disastrously wrong. Last year I said Norwich would stay up. Forest are not going to have a great season. They're not going to be like the Leeds when Leeds came up and they really pushed for European places almost. It's not going to go that well, but I think they'll stay up.
Yeah.
Just about.
Okay. So we move on to
the things.
No, it's fine. Put them in put them there. We go to Southampton now.
Yeah.
Bye to Fraser Foster and Harry Lewis. Hello to Gavin Bazunu and Football Manager favourite Armel Bella Kotchap from Bochum. Yeah, made up completely.
I've never seen him play, so I don't know if he's good or not.
They've got some decent players they've signed. It's still, again, I don't know, because Hasenhüttl is, that team was what last season? They finished 15th. They relied a lot on James Ward-Prowse.
I was going to say, yeah. I think you look at Ward-Prowse, you look at his set pieces, and they were absolutely key to Southampton staying away from the relegation trouble. Also, Southampton got really lucky last year because Leeds had a terrible season, Everton had a terrible season, Villa underperformed. So all these teams that were kind of around them and below them in the league, probably shouldn't have been there. But if you look at Southampton's squad, I think on paper it's a big enough squad. But you look at the actual quality in there, and I think Bednarak's a really good centre back. Livramento is good, and then it's like, well, there's Ward-Prowse, and then who else have they got?
They're missing as well. Like I think they don't have the striker for last season. Shea Adams was, Prowse was their top scorer. The strike force is Shane Long,
Well, they
Shea
got
Adams.
they got Adam Armstrong in from Blackburn. The idea being that he'd scored quite a lot of goals, just kind of bubbling under championship level. But like Alexander Mitrovic, he discovered that it's a big step up to the Premier League, and he got 2 goals last season.
I think also Broha, Armando Broha from the loan from Chelsea. That was a good signing, but
that loan's finished, hasn't it? He's not.
Yeah, he's on radars of teams now. Lianco of Torino is a good defender. It's going to be an interesting season for them. I think they could be found meddling at the bottom near enough, but they probably will.
I went to see Southampton this season. Went to St Mary's with Mike, so we went to watch them play Watford, and Watford weren't very good, and they won comfortably. Southampton were dreadful, which is why I've got them down as one of my 3 to go down.
Okay, so we've put them in the relegation.
The bubble's burst. They don't have any good players coming through. They've got some decent players in the team, but I just look at it. I looked at the same Burnley team at the start of last season. I looked at them. I was like, I don't really have that many good players. They've just kind of battled on through, and I felt like the writing was on the wall for them. I don't think Southampton has so much battled like Burnley did, but I just don't think they're that good. Is that harsh?
No, I mean, if we've got to, it's difficult. We have to see how it plays out. But I would see them potentially in a struggle for relegation. I mean, I think we both had them last season, or I had them in the relegation.
No, you had them. I had Newcastle. Obviously, Newcastle got bought out, and that kind of ruined it for me. But Southampton, for me, could be the big one. Southampton and Leicester are my 2 picks for teams to struggle that you wouldn't have thought would.
Yeah.
And if one of those 3 promoted teams puts a good run together, one of the existing sides is going to drop into trouble. And I think Southampton are worst positioned. When you look at some of those other clubs, Brentford were really good for big chunks of last season. Everton and Leeds probably can't play that badly for another season. Then you've got Brighton and Palace and Villa, and then you're into the elite teams then. So who else is going to go down? It could be that the 3 of the teams that came up just go straight back down again. I could see that happen.
It could.
It could be. Forest are a big club. They've not been there for ages, and I think the crowd will help because they've got really good support. It's a great stadium as well. Like, it's a big, proper big team stadium. So I think that's going to help. And they should just be able to do enough. Whereas Southampton, it feels like they're struggling.
Yeah. It could be. I mean, we'll have to see, but it doesn't look good at the moment for them. We move on now to Tottenham. So this will be Conte's first season in charge.
Yeah.
Kalevski's back in. Bissouma has signed. Forster has signed. Perisic has signed. Cameron Carter-Vickers has left to go to Celtic. This team looks pretty good.
It looks pretty scary. Obviously, you can add Richarlison to that. He's signed today. So, recruitment-wise, Conte has been putting together just a bunch of winners.
Mm-hmm.
I think perhaps there's question marks at the back, but certainly going forwards, he's got a wealth of attacking talent. The players that he's got to choose from. If he's playing 3 up top, who's he playing up top? I guess he has to play Kane and Son, and then Perisic, or is he planning on playing him deeper? Then he spent 50 million on Richarlison. Where's he going to play? He has a wealth of choice there, and obviously Kulusevski as well. He's a phenomenal footballer. It's an embarrassment of riches. The one concern that he's got probably is that he's got so many attacking players that he might end up doing what Ozzy Idealist did at Tottenham and going all like full tilt attack when he had Klinsmann and all the boys around Klinsmann. There's a risk of that, I think. especially with
It's
the
just,
Tottenham fans who are attack.
yeah. It's going to be a scary team, though. Like I said, it's, there's rumours of obviously Langley coming in, Jed
Yeah.
Spence coming in from Middlesbrough.
That's what they need to work on now, is strengthening that defence. But they do have a decent defence.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like it's a bad defence. I think Reguilon was a good signing last year. Is Christian Romero staying this season?
I think Christian Romero's still staying. I think I don't know whether I think there's an obligation to buy.
So that, yeah. Højbjerg obviously marshals the midfield from like a defensive midfield position. I think adding a central defender would definitely help their cause. But yeah, like I said, they've just got a wealth of attacking options now. That I'd struggle to pick out their starting lineup. It's that insane.
The defense is just very, like, if you look at it, Reguilon's going to be great. They've got Dyer, Ben Davies, Emerson Royal is not that bad. Emerson Sanchez.
Yeah, Emerson Royal, of course. Yeah.
They need to bring in a couple of players, but I think they're going to be challenging. Champions League. They're definitely Champions League in this season.
I mean, he's strengthened from a position of strength. Like, they got into the Champions League, so he's bought Champions League players. I think they could even put together. Do I want to say a title pursuit? But they'll be closer than they were this year. This year they kind of crept into the into Champions League late on.
Yeah.
I think next season, I think they're going to be top four all year, and I think they're going to be pushing the likes of Liverpool and Man City, which for Tottenham, that's ridiculous. I wouldn't be surprised if they won a trophy, like a Carabao Cup or something. I could see that happening because they've got such a good squad. It could happen.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm very, very excited by Tottenham's team this season. It's one of the ones I'm very interested to see how they play.
Of course, they could have collapsed. Like I said, when Ozzy Ardiles went into Tottenham and he brought a load of attacking players in, defensively they didn't have enough balance in the team.
Yeah,
so I think they won the first game of the season 5-3. There's a concern that could happen, but Conte is very good at his job. And
he is, yeah.
I think Tottenham are very much a one to watch. Could they win the title this year?
I mean, no. I think City still have enough. I think City still just have enough.
They're in the conversation, though. Which is...
they are.
It's a complete...
they are.
It's a complete switch from
same old Tottenham not winning anything and winning sweet FA. Hi.
Yeah. It feels like Conte has made a massive difference to the attitude in that football club, and they look genuinely like one of the better teams in the league, which makes them one of the better teams in the world, because when you're top of the Premier League at the moment, that means top of the world because all the money's here. Yeah.
We move on now to talk about two teams left, and then that's us. So West Ham, they haven't done anything so far. They've signed two players, Areola and Aguerd. But there's still certain things to come up, I think. Lingard's obviously a name on them. Yarmolenko's gone. Martin Noble is retired. He's now part of the coaching staff. Moyes has got a bit of work to do.
They have been linked to a few players. I think most notably, the one that, if it happens, I think might send Southampton down, is they've been linked to James Ward-Prowse.
Of course.
Which I think that would be a great signing for them. They're also looking at Dan Yuma from Villarreal. He's got a 34 million release clause. I'm sure they can afford that because look at their stadium. It's packed all the time, like 50,000. So, I mean, I feel like West Ham will do business before the end of the window. Whether they'll be able to repeat what they've done for the last 2 years with the other teams strengthening, with Newcastle moving up.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
I mean, Souček, if Bowen can just relay the form he was on, Mikel Antonio, their strike force is fine at the moment. No, unless someone leaves, it'll be a bit of a worry. Ben Rahama, I mean, adding on Lingard to that would be great for them. I think, I would say bubbling under. Declan Rice is probably still going to be there for another season, or at least for a wee while until he finally does get sold. West Ham are fine at the moment. There's not anything there that is panic signs at the moment. They may lose the presence, losing the presence of Yarmolenko and Martin Noble might be difficult, but
I do feel like this is one that could go south. So, like, if we've put them, eighth in the league,
yeah,
I could see them in the bottom half. If something starts to go wrong, if they have injury problems, I can see that happening to them. But they're not going to have a bad season. I don't think they're very well established now.
Yeah, it'd be very difficult to see that. But it's not out of the realm of possibility. Finally, Wolverhampton, not done anything.
No, it's been a very quiet transfer window. I don't know what that's all about. They seem to have released a lot of players.
Yep, so far we've said goodbye to Marcal. Do not remember him playing for them. John Ruddy, Roman Saiss, Ruben Vinagre left to go to Sporting. Jana Hoover has went to PSV. They've not signed anyone. There's been rumours that Matinho is on his way out or is exploring to explore his options.
I mean, the rumour has it that Traore is going.
Yeah,
so it does kind of make you wonder who they're actually going to get, because are they planning on going into the season with the same squad they had last year? Because it felt a little bit thin then.
I mean, if you look at the squad, Jose Sa was a good.
Ruben Neves was supposed to be leaving, wasn't he?
Yeah, there was rumours of him. Jose Sa has been decent so far. Raul Jimenez is slowly starting his way back. They've got Patrick Cutrone coming back from Fiorentina. Well, I'm assuming he's probably going to stay. Or I think he's back on loan somewhere. I don't know where he is, but he's Empoli he was at before, so I'm assuming he's coming back to then get sold. Yeah, I mean, they have it. They've since Nuno left. The signings and the players, they're decent players like Fabio Silva and stuff, but they just they meddle. Huang He-chan was quite good. I thought he looked quite interesting when he was playing for them last year. So I mean, it all depends. Adama Traore, Connor Cody, they have the players. It's just, are they going to sign people?
Yeah, I do think if Neves does go, it's a big loss, because when I watch Wolves, you can clearly see that he's the player that when the ball's coming out from the back, everything goes through him. Even when there's players of comparable quality around him, he's very much the player. He makes things happen.
Yeah.
So I think if he does leave, that's going to be a very difficult player to replace. Where he goes, I don't know, because Man United was certainly looking at him, but like, where's he fit into their way of thinking? I don't know. We'll wait and see, I guess. But I think it could be just more of the same for Wolves.
Yeah. Where do you think they're going to go?
Bruno Lage is a really decent manager. He had a good first season. I just think they'll be in the middle somewhere.
It's going to be, I think bottom half.
Like probably here somewhere.
Yes, you've got Man City first, Liverpool second, Tottenham third, Chelsea fourth, Man United fifth, Arsenal sixth, Newcastle seventh, West Ham eighth, Villa ninth, Palace 10th.
Does that mean Palace should be there?
Yeah.
Doesn't it? Here we go.
Wolves 11th, Brighton 12th, Leicester 13th, Everton 14th, Brentford 15th, Leicester 16th, Forest 17th. Then you've got Southampton 18th, Fulham 19th, and Bournemouth 20th. So I mean, Leicester might again push back up. They might get 10th if again certain things go the way. But I think I'd see that as definitely the right.
I think this bit is right. So I think the top 7 will finish in the top 7 in that order.
Yeah.
Or thereabouts. And then you're looking at 8th to down to Leicester. These are the teams that you could just kind of mix around, and one of them is bound to struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know which one. It's more likely to be the teams at the bottom end of it than it is the ones at the top. But it's a bit unpredictable. Those boys, they're all very close in terms of resources, so it's hard to say how it's going to wash out.
It is. Right. We're going to see how it goes. We'll take it from there. That is ours. If you have opinions, decisions, we'll probably post that up on Twitter and see what people think. But yeah.
So I can do just that.
Yeah. Again, we will be back. Arn is going to go away. He's going on assignment to Sweden and watching the Women's Euros. We will be back before the season begins, hopefully, to have a little bit of a chat, see what's developed and what's changed.
The season starts early this year, so it's
not long ago.
Yeah, the season, like for league teams, kicks off on, I think it's the 30th of July, and then the Premier League kicks off in like August.
Yeah,
so August.
We will see you by then. We will discuss and see where everything goes. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe. Sorry, this has went about an hour and 20 minutes, but we hope you have enjoyed it.
We're like, be quick. We'll just tell them where we think teams are going to be. And then we talked about Arsenal for 10 minutes.
And we gave them a full breakdown of the Premier League. But yeah, if you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe. It's all down below. I've been Eddie Sideburns. He's been Arn Furious, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.